Okay, again. So welcome to everyone who has joined us wherever you are, whether you're in your car, en route. A special thank you for joining us. You've made it. It's another Friday. I know the week was more than likely challenging, and so we want to thank you for spending the time with us tonight, using your hour or so. So again, thank you. I hope you guys are doing okay. I know for me it has been a little bit challenging, but as I said, I'm grateful and thankful that we are here. So I want to say a special thank you. And I also want to recognize and thank Dr. Sara Lawrence Lewis to be with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. This is a part of our Parents Month. And tonight is Woman Lime. So we're going to lime, we're going to talk, we're going to discuss, we're going to share our thoughts, we're going to enjoy ourselves. And I hope that everyone will have something, will take something tonight. And so they will be blessed or, bring some new knowledge or just have fun with us tonight. So we have about, 33 persons with us. Mrs. Neal, do you think we should just start? I know it's 6:12 now.
Yes, Mrs. McLeod, I think you should.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So we're going to start off, of course, with a word of prayer. And so I'm going to ask Mrs. Ferron to just say a short word of prayer for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to say a quick prayer and the little one is going to pray with me too. So let us pray. Dear God, we want to thank you for this wonderful evening and this opportunity to come together and to fellowship essentially as women. We're the core of our homes, our children and our spouses rely so much on us. We are the daughters, the mothers, the sisters, the friends. And as we band together, we ask you, Lord, to just help us to have a great time. This is really a moment of fellowship, to let our hair down and to share things that are important to us. So we ask you to preside over everything. We thank you that Dr. Lawrence Lewis has come to chat with us as well and to share her great knowledge. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mommy.
Amen. Thank you so much. So we now again, so those who have just joined, we have 34 now. So thank you so much again for joining us, all our parents, guardians, auntie, uncle, female, auntie, cousins, everyone with us tonight. Thank you so much for taking your Friday and spending it with us. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to invite Mrs. Neal to just give us a small, an introduction of our wonderful Dr. Sara Lawrence Lewis, who is going to speak to us in a few moments. So Mrs. Neal, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. McLeod. More than anything else, Dr. Lawrence is past student and past parent. And so it's as if St. Andrew Prep owns her, okay? Love you so much. Dr. Sara Grace Lawrence. She's a consultant, obstetrician, and gynecologist who is passionate about women's health and wellness. She had the honor of representing her country as Miss Jamaica World in 2006 and went to be a Miss World public vote winner for that year. One of her most proud moments would be winning for her country the Miss World Caribbean Continental Queen of Beauty and placing fourth at the Miss World competition in 2006. Since then, She has been a part of numerous outreach projects, advertising campaigns, and represents national brands such as Lime and international powerhouse brands such as L'Oréal Paris. Mother, professional, mentor, article Jamaican girl. Sara is dedicated to personifying the Miss World slogan that intrigued her many years ago, beauty with a purpose. I present to you Dr. Lawrence.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, hi.
Oh, Lord, how
Good
are you?
evening.
My family, my St. Andrew Prep family. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Neal, and thanks to everyone for having me. It is my pleasure to be a part of your Woman Lime today. I am, as was said before, St. Andrew Prep is near and dear to my heart. Some of my very fond memories, best memories, are from playing rounders at St. Andrew Prep and being on the grounds of St. Andrew Prep. And more recently, I was reacquainted with St. Andrew Prep in a very special way, having had my son there for about 3 years ago, he graduated, and I have a daughter who will be going there as well, God willing. So St. Andrew Prep definitely is a part of me. And when I got asked to do this, I could not say no, because this is my family. So thank you very much for having me. I will be 100% honest with you. From the jump, I'm usually a little bit more bubbly and full of energy, but this week has been so much. My daughter had surgery 2 days ago, and I have a whole heap of patients and things going on. But part of my mental health strategy is breaking away and doing things like this. So thank you very much for participating in that too. And I hope we have a candid discussion today. I want to keep the floor open for all and any question that you may have. You can either message me directly, a private message that I can answer openly and anonymously if you would desire, or you can always put any question in the chat at any point in this discussion. I'm not really one to love to speak at people. I wish it was more, didactic and we could have a discussion, but such is life right now, and over this platform, we'll have to speak this way. So I'm going to keep my little part short so I can hopefully leave you with some salient points and some take-home things to do. And then after that, I'm just here open to be at your service and answer any question you may have, medical question, wellness question, anything at all. So in the invitation, I was asked to speak about wellness, in particular, mental health. And, I decided not to separate it too much, because I do speak about wellness a lot because I am very passionate about wellness. But one of the number one things you can do about your mental wellness is taking care of your body. So today I'm going to talk to you about wellness, which is being in a state of good health, especially as an actively pursued goal. And I'm glad I gave that the definition, because I want you to know that it's not something that's passive. You don't just sit there and be in a state of wellness. You actually have to do things to remain well and do well in life. But I want to talk about wellness, mind, body, and soul. So I'm a doctor, so I want to start with the body, but all things have to work together for good, right? So firstly, I want you guys, and it's all women, and I love having an all women audience because I can just talk the things regular and normal and out there. I don't have to be, censoring for the men who cannot manage me when I start talking. But so the first thing I want you to do is to talk about our bodies. And I want to talk about it and be real, because while as women, we tend to have better health-seeking behavior than men, I think that we all prioritize and we put ourselves very low on the hierarchy of things to do. Our spouse is very important, our children are most important, our household, our work, all of these things fall before our health. And I want us to shift up that hierarchy a little bit and let us put our health, our bodies on the forefront, because we are no use to anyone if we're not wholesome and at our best state. So when I talk about your health or my health, we take a step behind from what we are experiencing right now. And I want each of us, if we don't know already, to have a little thought or do some work to look into our history, because our family history, our personal history plays a key role in how well we are now and how well we're going to be. So I want you to, because many things are genetic. You need to know if there's hypertension, diabetes, anything like that in your family, because if you know that you may have a genetic predisposition to this. So you can make certain little dietary changes or stuff to avoid or minimize your risk of developing those things in the future. I want you to know all the aunties and uncles and grandparents of who died from what cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, all these things. It's important to know, because it can therefore make us know what appropriate tests to do at what time, so we can intervene early. And really, that's what this wellness journey is all about. Knowing your baseline, so if anything abnormal happens, we can intervene early, so your prognosis can be good. So I want you guys to know yourself, and I want you to know yourself intimately. So after you know the history, I want you to know every single thing. I want you to know what the consistency of your breast is normally, what your consistency of your vaginal discharge is, what your periods are like, what is your norm, because there are little things that can happen and sometimes we take it for granted. You know, when you used to see a period 3 years ago, you used to use a pack and a half for your whole cycle. All of a sudden now you're using 3. Now you may just say, boy, that is it, I'm changing, I'm getting old, things are changing. But it could be that cue you in that you may have something like uterine fibroids or something else going on. So when you know your norm, you know that when things start to change, you can go in and get help immediately. You need to know things like what level of exertion makes you tired. What are your patterns? What are the things that make you get headache? If you're stressed out or if you eat poorly, what are your sleeping habits? This is of extreme importance, because a lot of us take it for granted, but we're not robots. Even the phones that we use and the devices that we're on now, we have to plug it in for it to be sustained. And sleep is our way of being rejuvenated. So we need to know, some of us have some fancy watches that can tell us how much hours sleep. Make sure we are tracking our sleeping habits or eating habits. You know, be aware of certain things like, what are your symptoms when you're ovulating? Do you still have these little feelings before your period come, or all of a sudden your period is just coming and you just, it came without warning? Those things can cue in if you're having PCOS or all sorts of, you know, different things. Do you have a newfound pain or discomfort when you're having sex? Or am I spotting? Am I getting a yeast infection every month? What is my partner's status? Do I want any more children? Am I doing anything to make sure I'm not having any more children? All these things are things that should be in the forefront of your brain, because these things all have implications on our life and how it's going to unfold. So, as I said before, we tend to put ourselves on the back burner. I want to introduce to you an entity which if you may not know, or you may know already, it's called a well woman visit. Now, a lot of us don't visit the gynecologist or any doctor unless there's a problem. So you have abnormal discharge, or you're having a pain, or the periods are heavy, or you're trying to have a baby and you can't. But there is a role for visiting when you are well, because we want you to come well and remain well. So the well woman visit is an annual visit, and as a part of that visit, we go through your whole history, make sure we not leaving any stone unturned as it pertains to, you know, the chronic lifestyle illnesses, breast cancer, cervical cancer, doing your pap smears, doing your mammogram if you're in the appropriate age group. All the little things we try to hit annually with this visit. And at least when you come out of this, you can know you're leaving there with a clean bill of health as it pertains to your wellness journey when it comes to your body. Now, you should leave there with goals. What are my exercise goals? What are my sleeping goals? What are my eating goals? So you actually have a mandate and an action plan going forward, so you can keep it and walk along with it on your wellness journey. So that's my little spiel on body. I could not come here and not talk about body, but let's go and we spend a little time talking about the mind. And it is so important, because our mental health on a whole is something that we don't embrace very well culturally as a nation in Jamaica. We think it's a sign of weakness, or we shun it, or we don't really explore it or seek help when we need it. So even though I spoke of the mind second, it's definitely not of second tier importance, because without the mind, even if you're in the best physical health, you may be rendered non-functional. So I want to leave with you a tool of self-assessment. And I would wish that each of us could do this every day. And I adopted this from Dr. Carpenter, and she encourages all of us to assess ourselves every morning. And you need to take some alone time. And I know for some of us, what is alone time in the morning? We have to be making breakfast and getting kids together and so, but for me, for sure, when I'm in the shower, when Caris is not trying to climb in and be a part of the shower as well, that is my alone time. And sometimes I just take the moment and say, all right, where am I today on a scale of 1 to 10? And this is a real life assessment. You are the only one that can do this. Nobody can do this for you. So sometimes you're at 8, 10, you're feeling good. You actually feel pumped and ready for the day. You want to move forward. You're thinking about the things, how you're going to execute them, in what order you're going to execute them. You're good to go. 8 to 10, you are on top of things when it comes to your mental health on that day. Go forth and take over the world. But oftentimes we're in that middle tier, 5 to 7, 3 to 5. And when you make that assessment that, okay, I think I'm not feeling all this excitement about work and all these things, I'm somewhere between 5 and 7, you have to make some provisions in this zone, because now your mental health is not exactly where you want it to be or need it to be to execute everything that you may want to do. So for me, and also, your provisions you make are individualized. You are the one now that's going to have to develop going forward. What are the provisions you're going to make when you're in this zone? For me, certainly one of the things I do is just plug out a social media. I take too much things on there, too much death and COVID and who this and negative, that and unrealistic goals and unrealistic expectations. I just say, you know what? I don't want to see all the bad news and the Gleaner and the Observer. I just want to push through my day and be the best that I can for my patients. So I just plug out of the social media for this day, or I avoid certain people, and that is a real life thing. You know, there's sometimes when you talk to some people and you feel drained when you're done, you feel like somebody beat you up 10 times. No, these are not the people that you need to be talking to, and they pull from you literally in that, when you're in that 5 to 7 zone, because an interaction that is less than ideal in that 5 to 7 zone can quickly pull you down to a 3 to 5, you know, and you don't want to go there. As a matter of fact, when you're in that zone, you want to be moving up and you want to be doing the little things that will boost you. Listen to your little praise and worship music, read a book, take a little time, take a moment at work, decide you're going to stop at Cafe Blue and buy this nice drink, even though it have 1,000,000 calories, because it will make you feel good this morning. Those little things to lift you up. So 5 to 7 is when you go start making some provisions. 3 to 5, honestly, that's where I was this morning. And this is where I think it is good to speak to someone. And if you're anything like me, you may want to isolate in this time. And that is a lie from the pits of hell, trying to isolate when you're already not feeling good or you're not at your best when you're in your mental health. When I did my assessment this morning, I said, wow, I have this thing later. I haven't slept in 2 days. My daughter not so hot, had this or that. Boy, this wouldn't be the best thing to do today. But I said, no. I immediately caught myself. I wanted to retract. I want to stay and not talk to anybody, wallow in my pity a little bit, get sad. And I said, no, I have to get up and get out. I literally got up and saw 2 patients today. And not because I wanted to neglect my daughter, but I just wanted to remind myself of the blessing of my calling. And I wanted to remind myself that somebody's life was helped because they needed me and I could help them this morning. And that is what pours into me. And that's what reminds me and pushes me and you know, jolts me through when I'm in those low days. Then on top of that, God is good. She is doing well. And she was laughing, and despite my fatigue and my worrying, God is also reminding me. So when you're in a clear headspace and you talk to somebody, you kind of get to see the good things. When sometimes in the 3 and 5 zones, all you're seeing is the bad. Woe is me, everything is bad. Not no go so. There's never everything bad happening all at once. So whenever you're feeling that, you have to banish that lie and immediately cancel it with all the good and all the blessings that are happening. Now, moving on to below 3. If you are standing up or wherever you are doing this assessment and you realize, boy, I'm upset. I feel sad I woke up this morning. I wish I just never woke up, or I don't feel like bathing. I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like making this food. I don't feel like, this zone, you may need some professional help. And I hope in a forum like this, and I hope in our talking and interacting, I can demystify this whole professional help thing. Going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist doesn't mean that you're mad. It doesn't mean that you're insane. It doesn't mean that you have a problem that you're going to require medication. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that these persons went to school and focused their life on assisting with mental health. And if you are in a zone where you are not as functional as you would be in a normal day, and it's affecting your day-to-day life, it's affecting your interactions, it's affecting your functionality and productivity, these persons can equip you with the skills to move you out that zone and usher you into an area where you are increasing your productivity and etc. Sometimes it requires medication, not all the time. And even then, everybody's so quick. If you have diabetes, you'll take the diabetes medication. If you have hypertension, you take the hypertensive medication. But when it comes to antidepressants or something else, it's like there's this big stigma attached. I do know they have side effects. I do know their concerns, but let's have that discussion. Let's start thinking, all right, no, you don't want to do this. You don't want to be sleepy. You want to be that. Let's just have a discussion with your doctor so you can have somebody who is a professional to help you. So I looked up some things since we're talking mostly about mental health, some things that we can start doing immediately to help us with our mental health. One of them was take care of your body. And part of that is your nutrition, avoid smoking, definitely try and avoid alcohol, because alcohol is one of those tricks. I know sometimes you're at work and you're stressed out and like, I can't wait to go home and have a glass of wine and those things, but they're actually depressants. So as much as you may feel a little better, most of the times it's masking it. And when you wake up or you move out of that zone of that transient high, you end up feeling worse than you did before. Exercise, get enough sleep. We spoke about those things. Do your well woman visit. Make sure you're on top of things. Part of the activity of doing that contributes to good mental health. One of the things that all of us need to try and start doing is valuing ourselves. You have to start treating yourself with kindness and respect and avoid self-criticism. Now, I'm guilty of this. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. I realized the other day that if somebody comes to me and give me a compliment, I immediately cancel it with something to pull myself down. And I do it in jest and I do it in joke. And it's not even something big, like they'll say, oh, I like your shoes. And I'll be like, them old shoes, look how the heel drop off. Like I'll just say something like that just to deflect from the compliment or deflect from somebody saying something positive. And that's a very destructive habit. And a lot of us choose to be our biggest critic to ourselves because we think it's a method of quality control. When you're your biggest critic, that means you push yourself to the limit. But what you're doing is constantly feeding yourself with negativity. So criticism must be good both ways, good and bad. When there's good things, you must be feeding yourself with that. You must push yourself to be better, but you need to also be feeding yourself with positivity and value yourself and know your worth and do the things that you like. If you like to dance, do a Zumba class. If you like to play an instrument, play the instrument. If you like to spend time alone, sometimes you have to go up in the room and say, you know what, daddy, take the picnic. I'm going to watch a show. I don't like exercising. However, I know for sure, you see, when I go and exercise, as much as I cuss and I go on and I don't want to do it, the only thing I am doing in that half an hour is taking care of me. And that feels good. It's not selfish because I know when I'm at home, everything I cook, everything I do is for my family. So try and carve out a time for yourself. And that's one of the things that you need to do for your mental health. Another thing is surround yourself with good people. You can't take this one for granted. In Jamaica, we say spirit tech is a real thing. If you're not in tune and linking up with people of like-minded, kindred spirits that will push you and support you and be there for you and pour into you and not draw from you, you are going to end up devoid and empty. And you're not even going to know where to pinpoint where it came from. And you're going to find your place in yourself in an empty space and not have somebody to talk to or be with. So you definitely have to be very calculated, very intentional about who you have in your space. Some of my friends, but I know your best friend, them don't have to know everything, them don't have to know all your plans, them don't have to know. You have to really make an assessment of who is around you and what tier they're going to be in. Sometimes it's also one of the things that they advise you to do is to give of yourself, volunteering your time and your energy to help someone else. This is just, I feel like that's God's gift to you for giving back to people. I can't explain it. Because if you feel empty, if you feel down, if you feel tired, the logical thing for you to do is not want to give of yourself. But I can remember for myself, one birthday when I know I was at my lowest, I think, or I was just low. I don't know what it was. And I was doing a devotion and I was like, God, what do we do? What I must do? I want this birthday to be meaningful. And he said to me in a clear voice, you're going to throw a party at a children's home. I said, what? I said, first of all, I can't, but when I heard throw a party, I was like, God, say I don't want. Then he said, that's a children's home. And I said, wow, okay, that's interesting. And then I told all my friends about it and we all got excited. And then everybody said, who will bring the KFC? Who will bring the cake? Or we decorate and we bring bounce about. And it was one of the best days of my life. And not only for them, for my friends to witness it and be a part of it. I remember at the end, one of them weeping in the car, like she never experienced something like this before. And I was like, boy, that had to be supernatural for God to just open up your heart and open up your mind and help and pour into your mental space. When you give back to his people, he pours into you. Now, another thing you have to learn to do is learn to deal with stress. Stress is inevitable. And if you don't deal with it in healthy ways and practice good coping skills, you're going to derail. No, there are all sorts of things that they suggested online, and some of them I was laughing at, play with your pets or take a walk. And for somebody who is impulsive, all of them something they don't count. What I would ask all of you to do is to take a moment and pull yourself out of the stressful situation when you're in it. Being impulsive does not serve you. Being impulsive will only ruin the situation or make it worse. So my mechanism for dealing with stress is really pulling myself out, looking back at it and putting it into perspective. Is this worth me getting drawn out right now? Is this worth me losing my job? Is this worth me losing this friendship? Is this worth me escalating this issue? Because oftentimes it isn't. And I always remember my husband, because he's in the army. He'd always tell me when he was going through his army training and them treat them bad and shout at them and they're training and they're screaming in their face and them in the mud. And when I say, send me that trace off everybody out there, I would never finish that army training because this mouth on me, it would never work out. And he said he literally sat there and he found everything to laugh at. How them scream, how them look, how them twist up, how them going on, and that made him get through it. And I said, wow, he really just created something on a whim to get through this stressful situation. And it was something that was beneficial to him as well. So I decided, you know what, this little impulsive thing, argumentative thing, it doesn't work out, and it's not even really who I am or who I want to be. So you have to really spend some time with self-assessment and introspection and saying, okay, who is it that I want my child to look up to? What is it that I want them to see me doing and for them to emulate and do themselves at school or grow up to be? And when I think about that instantaneously switches my MO. And I say, okay, this is what I'd want Zachary to do. This is what I'd want Caris to do. 1 second. Let me just put this on silent, right? And that just changes my whole perspective. And that is how I learned to deal with stress. And I encourage you guys to think about that as well. One of the things you need to do is quiet your mind. And that is kind of intertwined with the aspect that I haven't spoken about yet of wellness, which is the aspect that deals with your soul. And for me, my time for meditation or prayer is really what kind of sets the tone for everything else in my life. I am somebody who tithe, and that's a whole nother story, but part of my tithing is tithing my time. So I try to, for the first few minutes of the day, to tithe my time and say, all right, God, you know, say if I get up right now and start cook and start answer the phone and start answer the emails, I'm going to blink 2 times and it's going to be 10 in the night and I'm not going to have any time for you. And oftentimes, and I'm admitting it happens, and I end up not doing a devotion or not spending time with him. But I know for sure those are the days where things just chaka and they don't set good and things just start to derail and I get frustrated and I'm not centered. So prioritize quieting your mind, prioritize taking some time for yourself. And even if it is like, okay, God, I have 20 things to do. There are 16 hours in this day that I can do it, and I need 30 hours. Guide me how I need to do this, prioritize, and he literally will just start lining it out and putting things in your mind and heart about how you're going to approach the day going forward. 3 other things: set realistic goals. A part of us being the hardest critics for ourselves is that we set these out of this world goals for ourselves, and then when we fall short of it, we're even doubly worse, hard on ourselves, and it's like a catch-22, and it's a lose-lose situation, to be honest. So we have to decide what you want to achieve academically, professionally, personally. Write down the steps and a timeline for when you want to realize it. Don't get me wrong, I want you guys to aim high, but you have to be realistic and you cannot overschedule. So what you need to do now is that, I know New Year's coming and we're going to have all sorts of resolutions and things to do. And I don't know about you, but I know that this whole 1.5 to 2 years of COVID has been, I don't even know, with the goals and the things that I wanted to get done and didn't get done. And, you know, another gateway for the devil to put you down or make you feel sad or make you feel like you're not realizing, oh, I'm 40, I should own a house by now. Oh, I'm this, whatever. You need to just dispel all the things that have not gone right, and now reassess and say, all right, these are the things I want to do academically. These are the things I want to do professionally. These are the things I want to do as a wife or as a partner. These are the things I want to do as a mother. And you just need to set them down, and we're going to set some realistic goals. Break up the monotony of your life. And this has been very hard in this COVID time. I know a lot of us are forced to be at home for many, many hours. We in between the online school, and thank God St. Andrew Prep for some days are back. I don't know if you guys are fully back, but I know for some days you're back because I see some St. Andrew Prep uniforms online, face to face. But we've been at home and not, you know, many of the little social things that we used to do are not a thing anymore. And group gatherings, you have to be very discerning when you're doing that because of what's going on. But you have to get creative. You have to sometimes just put your children in the car, put your picnic in the car and go and drive up Irish Town, drive Strawberry Hill, do something. Because even in discussion about mental health, their mental health is, I mean, I pray about it so much. To be a child in this COVID atmosphere and environment, it can be easy. Zachary used to run up and down. Zachary used to do every single something every day, basketball this day, football the next day, and all him doing now is sitting down and watching all sorts of TikTok and whatever else, and no human interaction. From he started high school, he would have had only 2 terms and he's now in 3rd form, and he doesn't really know them. He doesn't really know his friends and who they are. And I think back to my formative years of high school. This is when you really forge the friendships. This is where, you know, I would, if I lost 2 years of St. Andrew Prep, I'd mash up. So literally what we need to do and what is key for us now, yes, we need to take time for ourselves and do things to break up our monotony, but we think about our family as well and think about our children and incorporate them in doing things like that. And finally, I want to say for your mental health is to get help when you need it. I'm going to change the rhetoric and just say to you categorically that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's important to remember that treatment is effective. It is tried, proven, tested. Sometimes and some things you cannot do on your own. So if you reach to a point where you're like, okay, I can't do this no further, what is my next step? Some companies, some workplaces have avenues where you can go and talk to people, or children have the avenues in Mrs. Neal and everybody else and all the wonderful staff at St. Andrew Prep. If they need to talk to somebody, put them in line with the appropriate avenues. Family Life Ministries right there, right across the road, is one of the wonderful avenues that we can take up as well. Because I feel like sometimes you hear get professional help, but you don't really know where to go. If you need professional help, tell me right now. I'll give you the number for Dr. Davidson at Family Life Ministries, and you go there, or you go and you talk to someone and they'll help you immediately. So I hope after hearing these strategies that you guys would just throughout all the things you ever heard or felt culturally about seeking professional help for your mental health, and make sure you reach out if you need it. So finally, in the triad of wellness, which is mind, body, and soul, I'm going to speak a little bit about soul, and that is really a relationship with a supreme being. I'm a Christian, unapologetically, proudly so, and believing in a higher being makes my life manageable. If I did not, and it was just me, I would have given up a long time ago. And I am usually a very secretive person. Not secretive, I don't really put much out there. So even if you saw things on Instagram about me or not, you'd be like, oh yeah, she was a Mr. one time Mr. Mika, that's a doctor or not. You wouldn't really see much of my family. And so even me sharing so openly about my daughter's surgery, and so it's really, you know, I think therapeutic for me. You guys are my therapist tonight, and you can send me a bill after. But just seeing how God has played out even in this situation, and as a Christian, I know the words of my testimony will help somebody. My daughter was born with a genetic illness that she has for her whole life, just to make things simple. And hold on, okay, 1 second. Right. And recently she had to, Zachary's here telling me bye, and Caris is walking by, so for the distractions, right, she had to do a surgery on Wednesday, and this is in the middle of opening a new business. This is in the middle of dealing with Zachary and all I have to do at work and home and everything. And I'm like, God, this is just too much. This is insurmountable. And he literally held me and kept me through every single step, to the point where I was sitting and reflecting today that, the level of faith that I'm at now, the level of the way he just kind of kept me in this time, I know it's preparation for the next steps that he has for me in life. So it's not done yet. My story isn't finished as it pertains to Caris and my journey with her health and everything. But I know for sure that if I was not a Christian, if I did not believe in God and believe in his healing power and believing that he don't give you more than you can handle, that I would have already derailed. So I say all of this to say and to impress upon you that no matter what's going on, you must believe in a higher being. Because knowing that even with the bad, he can use it for his good and his glory, and that he gives you the strength, relying on something bigger than yourself makes it possible to face the impossible. And that's really what makes life amazing. So trusting takes a burden off you and places it where it truly belongs. And knowing that you're created for a purpose and seeking earnestly to live out that purpose daily is the drive that I have, and it should be yours as well. So these are my words for you. I hope you guys have loads of questions for me as it pertains to your body. I hope you guys start thinking about it now. Book your appointments with your doctors to make sure you start your wellness journey and do your well woman visits. As it pertains to your mind, start doing your daily assessments, see where you are, start to institute and do those things that I have encouraged you to do daily to increase and boost your mental health. And finally, tap into your spirituality and make sure you nourish your soul, because without all three, you won't be in complete health and you won't achieve your best self. Thank you very much for having me. Send all the questions. I'm ready to answer them. All right, let's see. Hold on.
Thank you, Dr. Sara Lawrence. Anybody have any questions? If you want to send it to her directly, or if you want to raise your hand, if you want to ask the question, or if you want to put it in the chat, we're open to either. I'm sure she spoke a lot about our, whether it is our wellness, or physical wellness. I know personally, definitely it has been a tough year with two children. Both of them go to St. Andrew Prep, grade 2 and grade 6. And so it's PEP year. So, that for me also is very challenging, and some anxiety around that, and getting them prepared each day and keeping your mind focused and, really looking at the positive as well. I would agree, when Sara shared that if you are like, in between like a 3 to a 5, some of the things that you need to do. I know sometimes for me, I get up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the fact that we're now in physical, but you have to get up so much earlier to do all the packing and making sure that you have everything. It's not like you're at home and we know chances are your kids just roll out of bed and go in front of the computer. So it took some, I would say, some changes within my schedule as well. And, just to make sure mentally I was ready and prepared. So I took those first few minutes, to center myself, to pray, ask God for some strength and guidance to help me throughout, the day. So for me, definitely for wellness side, I would agree that I had to take some time for myself so that I could, help me to get through the day, because, when they start asking the questions, especially online, and all kind of things can happen, internet jump out or something. So thank you so much, Sara, for sharing some of those little tips on how to, kind of help to get through each day. Asia, could you tell us more? Okay, I see a question there in the chat. Tell us a little bit more about the Well Woman visit.
Okay, all right, so you may hear Caris making all sorts of noise in the background. Noel is about to dress her.
We understand.
Okay, before that, I'm going to answer you, Natalie. Someone asked direct what church I attend. I attend the Transform Life Church. That is, there used to be at Police Officers Club. We now have a church home. However, in the meantime, we have our services online, and they're all available there. She said she don't want a church that focus on feeding fear. Amen to that, sister. I hope you could join us online and look and see. But guess what? If it's not a fit for you, remember there is a fit for you out there. So don't give up. If you went to one place and it didn't feel good, don't blame God. It's not him. It's really, humans there at church. So definitely Transform Life Church. Now, Natalie, the Well Woman visit now, what does it entail? it's so literally it's an annual visit that you make with your obstetrician and gynecologist. As a part of it, so I can just walk you through it. So when you come in, the first thing we do is go through a detailed history. The history will have as a part of it your family history, your personal history. Child. Yeah. What you laughing at? You get joke, right? So your family history and all of that is not to really be inquisitive, but rather to risk stratify you. All right, so let me give you an example. So for instance, you have a significant family history of breast cancer, and we usually do mammograms starting at age 40. We start at age 40 because the average age of breast cancer is 50 and above. However, if we go into your history and we find out that your mother had breast cancer and she had it at age 40, we will start your screening at age 30. So that's why it's important to go through the family history in that regard. We teach you how to do your breast self-exams. And then in that exam, we do our clinical testing as well. Do regular things, blood pressure, weight, whatever, go through your menstrual history, find out what your reproductive desires are. If you don't want a child, no, we talk about contraception. If you want a child, no, we see what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then we pretty much go through a full physical examination of all the systems, abdomen, your pelvis. We get a pap smear in as well, if you're due one, and female executive profile is requested in that visit as well. Now it becomes now individualized based on what we're facing. If we feel a mass there, or if we have concerns from your menstrual history about fibroids, etc., we may do an ultrasound or other things. So the baseline, it's really a history examination and investigations that are done, but it's tailored for women and it's tailored for you individually.
Okay, we have one more question in the chat. Any recommendation?
Naturopathy.
Yes, naturopathy.
Right, yes. Okay, so naturopathy is a subspecialty of medicine that deals with natural options and incorporating it in medicine, because they are doctors as well. And out here, we used to have Dr. Kimani Borland. She was here, but she seems to be between Jamaica and San Francisco. She's not really here all the time, but there are naturopathic doctors available. I just don't have any at the tip right now because she used to be my go-to person and she's been away for a few months now. One of them, I had one and it just really escaped me. But if once I get the information back, I will give you. I say this to say that they're not mutually exclusive. I don't think anybody should choose to go to one and not the other, but I am a doctor that explores all options. And if you'd rather, the side effect profiles of a lot of the things are not desirable. And I listen to the patient and I say, okay, you're taking this, you don't like how it make you feel, it give you a bad feeling. All right, let's talk a little bit more. If you're having this problem, these vitamins work for this too. So what I would encourage you to do is just really seek out and talk to your doctor and let them know what is it that you want, because you are it's kind of a service that we're giving to you. So if you're somebody who say, boy, I really don't want a lot of this or that, we can see how best we can find a middle ground. Because honestly, sometimes some things need medication. If you have totally high uncontrolled hypertension, that is genetic. Your father had it, your mother had it, your sisters have it. Your blood pressure is 200 and odd over 100. As a doctor, I'm like, listen, come here. If you don't sort this out now, you're going to have a stroke and it's not going to be good, right? Then we can have a discussion based on what your clinical scenario is. But we do have naturopathic doctors here. We do not have the naturopathic subspecialty here. So most of them trained away and came back, and I will make sure that I get the information to Mrs. Neal so she can pass it on to you.
Excellent. I have a question. For me, as I said, I have two children at St. Andrew right now, and in prep school, generally, this is where we normally have our children go through like puberty and all of these different things. Mm-hmm. That, of course, causes me anxiety. Again, boy and girl, so I both have to look at both when they go through puberty. Like, what are some of the tips for us as parents, to keep our minds and prepare ourselves for this aspect?
School, I have no idea. I was like, what? I can tell you the medical stuff, But trust me, what I will tell you and what I have to tell myself is that, listen, when they seem like they're really and truly getting crazy, it's just the hormones they can't manage. Truly, that sweet child that you had that used to come and be wonderful, and now this child that is talking back and have an answer for everything, I literally would be like, Zachary, I will pop you up. But then I say, it's just a hormone. You can't manage the hormones. You don't understand yet. You know, you have to, when you realize there's a biological basis for what is going on, that is your moment of coming out of yourself, looking back down and say, you don't even understand. Maybe I don't recall myself being like that, but if you talk to my mother, maybe she has different things to say, you know? So literally, puberty is not an excuse for bad behavior. Puberty is not an excuse for being rude or becoming a bad human, because remember, you're setting the tone now to transcend into adulthood. So the core values, you can't compromise that. The things that you want to instill in your child, you continue to instill it. However, just know biologically what's going on inside the body, they can't manage it. So when you see them stepping out of line, you just pull them right back in without being argumentative, without being combative, because you understand a different way what's going on. And as I said, sometimes, and I think I've said this a few times, sometimes when I'm driving home, I literally have to sit down in the car and say, okay, I'm going to go inside. The dishes are not going to be washed. Zachary is going to be in the same clothes that he was on before, with just a uniform shirt over it. And the room will look a mess. And it just prepare myself. Because if I say something, he must have an answer back, and I'm just going to be like, and it's not going to work out, because we're going to be butting heads. I don't need to be butting heads with a child, because I'm the adult and you're the child. So literally, I just said, okay, so this is what's going to happen. I'll play a role play in my head, and I'm pleasantly surprised when I go in and things are not that way. But I say, worst case scenario, these things happen. I'm just going to march upstairs and say, good evening, Zachary. Could you please come off of the computer? And not falling into what naturally I want to do, because now I am now pulling myself down to a level where I am a rational adult that can control her emotions. So it's hard. I don't even know if Zachary's out at the door listening like, huh? Can I talk to these ladies? But yes, the transition is rough. And I read a wonderful article that my sister sent to me. And really, that was the essence of it. You cannot be arguing with them. It's kind of like arguing with, they're not equal to be arguing with them. Set what it is, walk away. If you want to argue with your friends, or argue to yourself, or argue to your spouse and say, why is he, whatever, but the backing and forth thing and the chatting back, they can't control themselves. As it pertains to what's going on with their bodies as girls, I can talk. I mean, the boys, oh gosh, I love them. They have so much going on, and I hope the men can step up to the plate and help them deal with that transition. But with the girls, with the development of breast and their feelings, and in the feelings associated with menstruation and menstruating and all of that jazz, one of my very best things that I love to do is to have an adolescent visit. And that's somewhere within the first 2 to 3 years of when they start the period. And this is a way of them interfacing with the doctor, with their gynecologist early in life, and developing a relationship. Because gynecologists really have to be close to you, and you have a good relationship with them, because it's some very personal things that you guys speak about, some things that are hard. And if you start it from early, it instills in them good health seeking behavior, and then we can pick up on some things early. So instead of they coming in their late 20s when they go college, or early 20s, and we say, boy, it looked like you had endometriosis all this time, or it looked like you had PCOS or so. If you start that interaction from early, sometimes my teenagers tell me some things that they don't want to tell their mothers, and then all of a sudden, now I automatically became an outlet, became a counselor that I could just talk to, and I say, all right, just now watch it, man, and move on. And they just, continue based on that interaction. So try and find outlets. Sometimes you cannot be that outlet, and that's why I just dying for school to open back, because I do not want to be Zachary's teacher. I do not want to follow him up. I do not want to do it. That is not my space, because the teachers that are trained at this school are well equipped to do all of that. because as his mother, that's not my role. You have to see what your role is. Your role is to make sure that you have an honest, upstanding citizen of this country, and make sure them don't do anything illegal and don't do anything mean or not whatever. You stay in your lane, make sure you do that, and allow others to help you with the process, because it's really a community that builds a child. And it's hard in this COVID time, but you need to kind of still harvest that whole feeling of community in child rearing.
Thank you so much. Paulette, you had your hand up. Did you want to ask a question?
Good night, Dr. Lewis.
Good
Awesome
night.
presentation indeed.
Thank
Right.
you.
So my concern is being a teacher, and over we are told that we need to get enough rest. But as a teacher, it is very difficult to get that rest that we really needed, because a teacher job never ends. Even when we get home, we are
Yeah.
still doing work, you know. So how would you, what advice would you give the teachers in time like this?
All right. I am here with you because a doctor's job never ends too. Well, you see, you guys, you see that little break? You see, whichever it is, summer break, whichever spring break, Christmas break, whatever break, you need to be intentional about plugging out and doing and make that time a concentrated time for you. So while you cannot do it every day, continuously rejuvenating, continuously getting that 8 hour, 6 hour, because your job requires of you to be constantly marking and setting plans and coming to school and whatever. In those times where you have a little break, summer break, whenever, you're going to have to take a time and say, you know what? I'm going to Negril. I'm going to whatever, and I do it. You know, I never been to the South Coast. Let me go down there and go drive through whatever. You know, whatever it is, you have to make a plan and look towards it, because your brain works once you have something to look forward to, an outlet. It is somewhat therapeutic, because you always have something anticipating and looking forward to. You don't get clambered down into the gloom and monotony of your life. So while I would encourage you to probably, find a half an hour to exercise, or find a little time that is just your time. And no matter what, when this show is on or when I'm doing this, I don't want to see a paper. Don't sit down with your laptop, plug out. However, in those breaks, you have to find the time, because guess what? You can't pour out of an empty cup. The children will feel it. It will reflect in your work. It will reflect in their grades. It will have such an important ripple effect across the whole country if you guys don't take that time. Teachers are so super special. May the Lord bless and keep you guys, because I could not do it. But you have to take the time. Carve out, even if it's a weekend at the beginning of the term or somewhere in the middle and after the midterm tests or so, and you have a little lull. Don't run straight into creating a new lesson plan. Listen to your body. Say, boy, I'm burnt out. I really don't feel like it. You're doing yourself an injustice by not taking that Sunday off to just breeze out, spend that time with your family and your friends, and then you start again. You may not have as much time as everybody else, but you can make the time to invest in yourself and make sure that you rejuvenate. Because think about it as making you to be the best teacher that you can be. You can't be the best teacher when you are worn out and worked out.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have Roxana her hand is up.
Hi, good night. Thanks, Dr. Lawrence. It was an excellent presentation. My question is, I have a 7-year-old daughter. Now, when we were growing up, we used to go to church, you go to Sunday school, you go to school and you have your devotions. But with the COVID, they're not going to church, and it's very hard to get her to focus. The online, watching the service on YouTube just doesn't work for the kids. My concern is, and the same thing you're talking about, growing up kids that are good citizens, and we take these things for granted, but when we were going to Sunday school, these lessons were instilled in us. We learned about being a good human being. I mean, you learn at home too, of course, but you know those direct lessons about Jesus and God and you know all of that. We don't realize, but when we were kids going to Sunday school, it really impacted our life. My concern is I've been struggling with trying to find a way to do that for my daughter at home.
All right. So what we have been doing in my family, and this was the initiative of my husband, is do family devotions. No, it's not really not his initiative. We used to do it before. Before, because my Zachary is not his child, so I had Zachary before I was married, and we used to do it at my family home when I used to live with my mom. But you know, at that time, as you said, there was church, there was Sunday school, and all sorts of things, and I saw a steady decline happening in his spirituality. When things in the COVID time. So we decided every evening we're going to do family devotions. And in the Bible app, we looked up a youth devotional, and there's this one called Josh McDowell's Youth Devotions, and there are 360 days of devotion. So every day they do it. They have a devotion. And what the devotion does is start off with a story that's tailored to, 7 years up. And it provokes thought. It makes you think of, and it made me ask some questions that I wouldn't have asked Zachary before, because I don't know, when I was growing up, my mother never used to talk to me about relationships and this and that and so forth. But because it's a part of the devotion, there are questions at the end, and we talk about it as a family. And though, yes, we're not having the concentrated devotions at school, devotions from Sunday school, this moment that we shared as a family, or we share as a family daily, or we try to share daily, we get to talk about some good principles for life. And even if it's just you and your child, when it's bedtime, just take a little time and you just read through the devotional. It's not going to take longer than, I think, 7 minutes. And it has a Bible reading associated with the day and a prayer. And I feel like, though everything else has fallen off, this moment that you spend with your child and the discussions that it provoke will set the foundation for what is to come back into play, because the world is not always going to be like this. Church is going to open back, school is going to open back, but we can't allow this lapse in time to make some things happen that affect our children's character. So I don't have all the answers, but I did see the deficit as you did. And just look on the Bible app, which I hope all of you have access to on your phones, and just look up a devotional. If you don't have a smartphone that have that, you can access it to your laptop or whatever else. And I would say carve out a little time for you to do that with your child at home. I think at 7, these are the formative years. These are the years where you're setting the foundation. If you set this habit, this is something that they'll take on to their own family and really instill some really good values in them going forward.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. Mrs. Neal said, keep church at home. It's a real thing. Mrs. Neal, we all have communion, everything. Natalie Ferron had asked about vitamins and what do I recommend for women. I would say, if there is no deficits based on your assessments with your doctors, regular multivitamin 1 a day. Centrum is not really needed unless you're a little older. It has things like magnesium and other things, but like 1 a day, woman, any multivitamin is good to go. The truth be told, if you're eating a balanced diet and everything, you should get all the nutrients that you need from that. However, in this environment where there are things going on and stuff, you may need a booster of certain things, vitamin D, vitamin C, and you can be supplemented with those things. But it's not one of those things that's a necessity, I love it. If you want to take your cod liver oil, your other little things, anything in excess is not good for you. But a multivitamin that's already prepared, like 1 a day, woman, has everything in the right proportions that you will need. And, you know, you can always supplement with extra vitamin C or things like that. And I was reminded that Dr. Janice Simmons Fisher is a naturopath doctor. Someone direct messaged me. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys? It's a safe space. We can ask anything that we want to ask. As Sarah said, you can direct message her. If you don't want to ask it in the group, let me check if there's anyone else has their hand up. No, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Right. I just wonder, Dr. Sara, if any of your clients have noticed any changes with their menstrual health after taking the COVID shot. I know there's a lot online that, you know, so I just wanted to know if you had noticed anything out here.
Absolutely. And what the change that happens is transient. So meaning that it's not sustained. So the next period or the period after that, they would note a difference in timing, difference in flow, difference in consistency. Those things have been across the board. However, I would not want you to extrapolate that to think that it has an implication on your reproductive health in any way. What happens is that when you get a vaccine, you have put physiological stress on your body. Because now, as an adult, as children, we did it all the time, but as an adult, we are exposing ourselves to something in volumes enough to mount a response that when you actually get it, you can fight it quicker. So it's not to not get it, but if you get it, you can fight it. Some people, when they stress out about CXC or common entrance, the period don't come. Oh, did I say common entrance? I really age myself. Sorry about that. But if you have a stress at work or a family death, period doesn't come, or there's a menstrual abnormality. This having a menstrual abnormality as a response to stress is nothing abnormal. But because now it's on a wider scale and it's something that people are observing, they tend to be a little wary of it. But yes, every single person that has come in that I've noted that has had the COVID vaccination, I ask them straight up, have you had a menstrual problem? I encourage everybody to track the period. That's one thing I should tell you to get an app. FLO is a good one, Flow. That's how some people won't even notice if they had a menstrual abnormality or not, because they don't even know when the period due or not due. They kind of know if it's the middle or the beginning of the month. But if you are tracking it, most persons, or more often than not, we'll have persons saying, okay, yes, I had a little change in my period, and that's really just because of the physiological stress that was put on your body after getting administered the vaccine. And if you came to me and say you haven't done it, you're going to do it, I will let you know ahead of time, because it's just really knowing what to expect. And then soon after that, now the next few cycles thereafter, they've now gone back into a cyclical normal fashion.
Thanks, Doc. I took both doses and I didn't notice anything, but I just wanted to make sure that, you know, looking ahead, I shouldn't expect any changes.
You shouldn't expect anything looking ahead, no. It would be immediate, the periods immediately after.
Thank you so much for that. I'll continue to see if any other questions, but if not, I know it has been an amazing night for us. You've shared so much information about, you know, talking about the triad, mind, body, and soul. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Grace Dwyer to give the vote of thanks. If at any time at all, I'm sure if you have any questions, you can share with one of the teachers, and we can always send it to Dr. Sara Lawrence to, you know, help us with any of these questions that we may have. Grace? Grace, you're muted.
Happens every day. I'm so glad to see you. It really is a